If you're anything like me, the majority of your early years growing up was probably filled with ranked matches and trash talk. I didn't grow up with the Final Fantasies or Pokemons. Granted, I think I would have loved gaming just the same, or possibly even more if I grew up with those genres. But anyway, in today's video, I'm going to talk about competitive games and how your rank and everyone's rank means nothing, and that you should learn to make competition a casual pastime instead of something that pokes your ladder anxiety and rouses the other negative emotions within you. So before anything, let me provide a little bit of background. Rank in competitive games are like what MMOs are to their fans. Now, not everyone in the competitive gaming genre feels that way, but I'm here to talk to the other group that feels the immediate frustration when I say that their rank means nothing, but at the same time felt a little bit of relief because they finally feel like they don't have to tie their self-worth to pixels on a screen. Now you might think, who the hell is this guy to talk about ranks? He's probably just the typical dead weight in the lobby who's coping to make himself feel better. Okay, so I'll share my experience with competitive games, but I want to emphasize the fact that I am not trying to show off, nor am I doing this to prove a point, because even though I say that rank means nothing, the same species that I'm trying to communicate this to only understands communication through the depiction of those little PNGs, so we'll have to entertain that for a second. Let's get this over with quickly. So CS2, I have about like 14 and a half thousand premier rating as my top rank, I think. I'll put all the images up in the video so you can see. And I got up to Immortal in Valorant and Diamond 1 in Apex and Champion 1, I think, in Rocket League. I also won a small local Valorant tournament with only enough of a prize pool to feed you for, like 3 days? But hey, it was a goal to work towards and something I can be proud of. And various other titles with rank ladders that I've never really grinded in, like PUBG, Fortnite, League of Legends, and whatnot. So with that out the way, not to say that I'm a crazy good player by any means, but I'm pretty sure I have enough experience to talk about this matter. For gamers who mainly rotate around different competitive shooters and other games with rank ladders, I understand full well how they feel right before they click that Q button. That discomfort you feel in the pit of your stomach as you stare at that glowing button, which glues you into your chair for the next 15 minutes to an hour or more, with no guarantee of whether the rank you covet will go up or down once that time period ends. The dice roll for players who decide to go into that world alone, not knowing if you'll be grouped up with people who have a microphone, don't have a microphone but decide not to use it, or ones that only decide to use the microphone at the slight hint of potential loss during the match. Trust me, I feel you. But for me, at the very least, that feeling tends to subside whenever I'm queuing with others, but that's not really a sustainable way to go about it if you're trying to grind, but the remaining players in your group don't really have that same fire or hunger to improve and just want to have fun, which is completely fine, and you shouldn't impose your ideals on them. That's what games are made for in the first place, as a form of entertainment. Now, at some point during my gaming years, when I started to branch out to other genres of games, trying out single-player story games, MMOs, and others, the enthusiasm I had for competitive games started to fade, and I just never had that itch to compete anymore. Perhaps also because I know what I can experience instead. Ever since then, from time to time, I would log back into one of the previous competitive games I've played. But even though I don't play the ranked game modes anymore, and in most of the games, my rank is basically gone since it has been multiple seasons since I last played, I find myself utilizing a game mode that the developers created, which I never thought I would have found enjoyment in ever before. It might seem like I'm over glorifying this, and for some people, this is something that's pretty obvious, but it was the first time for me when it came to being able to enjoy playing the casual or unranked game modes. The reason why I'm putting attention to this is because for the longest time, I've always had the mindset of if it's not going to contribute into my rank, then why bother? It seems like a waste of time. And I think that wiring of the brain harms us in other ways as well. For instance, it creates this transactional relationship with our hobby where we view it as an activity that has to give something back in return, which I believe then reflects into other games we play, such as trying to quantify the amount of joy or enjoyment we get from playing an RPG, for instance, and trying to weigh our options depending on which single player narrative would provide the most amount of value for time spent. In the grand scheme of things, only a very small percentage of people playing competitive games can actually turn pro, and from that group of people, there's an even smaller percentage who will find enough success to be able to turn it into a career that will be able to put food on their plate. So we also have to be realistic with this. Although I'm not saying to give up on your dreams for players who are still young and are aspiring to be professional players, but you should also take a good look at yourself, know your limits, be real about your life conditions, and act accordingly. Because sadly, there are still lots of people well into their 30s or even older who refuse to give up on this seemingly dream life of playing their favorite game and earning money from it. If it was under better circumstances, like having the rest of their life in check, then that's fine. But you won't believe how many people out there are still living in the least optimal conditions and putting up with that with the hopes of one day making it big. So for the rest of us, I think it's paramount to decide on our course early on, whether we want to just be able to appreciate it as a hobby or aim to be the best and compete at the top. And if it's the latter, then I beg you to actually commit to that path as early as possible and try to avoid sitting on the fence, because that's the fastest way for you to end up waking up past your prime age, realizing that you didn't build a backup plan for your life and that your goal you've worked so hard for during all your adolescent years now being out of reach. To drag us back into the conversation, don't be mad at yourself or others when you're entering those ranked matches. And sure, others are probably acting hostile to you, but just be the bigger person and let it go. It's not worth it to destroy your own experience. So go ahead, log back into your favorite competitive game, queue up to that casual match or ranked match if you're still on the grind, but go in there with a different state of mind. Sure, the point of the game is to compete, but do so healthily. Have fun, appreciate the small things, notice the smaller details of the game that you never saw before. Games are still a form of art in the first place. Be awed by the graphics, not for its technology or modernity, but for the intention behind why it was designed that way. Find new ways to enjoy what you've lived with for such a long time. And for those of you who are aspiring to be professionals, you have to actually commit and understand that you have to put up with whatever comes with that job, even if you haven't made it yet. it's almost like the saying of fake it till you make it. So if you think that just playing the game like 1 or 2 hours a day will cut it and you can spend the rest of your time doing God knows what else, then be reminded that your competition is grinding while you're having fun, and know that at least you have to have a sense of urgency, and you have to also play whenever you don't feel like it. It's like working out as well. You won't want to work out every single day, but that feeling of wanting that physique will still be there. So we should also understand that the process is not as attractive as it seems. So, alright, that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you've made it this far, I truly appreciate you. Leave a like if you liked it, and subscribe if you want to see more of this type of content. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.